All right, yeah, let's talk about things going well for the Mets. So they just won 3 of 4 against the Phillies after sweeping the Nationals. They're currently 2 games ahead of the Braves in the NL wildcard standings. I want to hear from both of you on this question, but Gary, I'll come to you first. With only 6 games left in the regular season, what are your thoughts on this Mets team, and do you think they will make the postseason?
Well, I think they're playing at an extraordinary level right now, and I don't think there's any reason to think they can't make not only make the postseason but make a deep run. Um, they only have to win 2 out of 3 in Atlanta to get into the postseason. If they win 1 out of 3, they still control their own destiny. And honestly, I think there's every chance that they may be able to catch the Padres for the first wild card because the Padres have such a difficult schedule this last week going to LA and Arizona. So they're on a roll. There's no reason to think they can't keep rolling. Atlanta late in the season has always been a big obstacle, but this is a year where the Mets can get over that hump.
Yeah. Keith, what are your thoughts?
Well, I totally agree with what Gary had to say. I think that the one thing that's been impressive to me, that one of many things that is not really sexy, is their defense. And defense wins games. And this is a quality defensive team. You recall back not too long ago under Sandy Alderson's regime, you had infield that couldn't turn double plays. This infield right here is solid. Vientos has played a really nice third base, up the middle with Lindor, of course, but he's out. But Acuna flashed a terrific glove at shortstop. And Iglesias, to me, is one of the finest second basemen defensively I've ever seen. And the outfield is, you got 4 guys out there that are quality, and that wins ball games. And the pitching they've been pitching great. They're making the plays behind them. And it's very, very inspiring. And this club is inspired. I mean, they made a statement taking 3 out of 4 from Philadelphia in their own back and at Citi Field.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect time to get hot right now, and that's exactly what they're doing. Speaking of the environment at Citi Field, it's been an incredible atmosphere against the Phillies, despite some concerns by the lack of attendance in the National Series. So, Keith, as a former player, would players talk about the crowd and the dugout, and how much do you think that motivates a team?
Oh, it's always great to have a full house, particularly Met fans on your side. And in the '80s, they were the 26th man. Remember, we only had 25-man rosters back then, so they were like the John Havlicek of the Boston Celtics. I'm sure older fans will understand what I mean by that. Younger ones, go to Google. But anyway, they are important to be there. It's at Shea. There wasn't the other exteriors out there for people to go. It's like a county fair. People came to watch the game, and they were in their seats 15 to half hour before the game, and it was electric. And we fed off of that. They did come out this weekend, and I think that they're going to be there. I do feel like Gary that they're in the driver's seat to get in the playoffs. Can they catch San Diego? 3-game lead with 6 to play. That's a tall order right there, but certainly they can be number 2. And there's never say never. Things could happen. San Diego could fall apart, and they could be the number 1 guys. I think also too, and I'll be brief, which is very rare. Philadelphia, they run out of time. I told Gary a long time ago that well, 5 weeks ago they could catch Philly, and that I really feel if there was another 2 weeks in the season, they have a chance to catch them. They've just run out of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid point. I agree with you on that. Gary, with all of the gimmicks this season, from Grimace to OMG and all of the rest, have you felt that fans have been more enthusiastic this season than previous seasons?
Well, that's a very multi-layered question. I mean, the fact of the matter is that for most of this year, the attendance has been way down at Citi Field, and even when the Mets started playing well in June and July and August, the crowds were not great. I do think that the memes that have popped up across the season, not just OMG and Grimace, but also Max and Iggy and all sorts of other little things that our director John DeMarsico really has helped to fuel. Um, I think those are cute, and they're great if you're winning. But I think that it's taken a long time for fans to warm to this team. They got off to a terrible start this year after a bad year last year. At the point that this team was 11 games under 500 and 17 games out of first place, I don't think anybody was thinking about fan engagement. They were just trying to think about hanging on for dear life. And I think it's taken a long time over the last 3 months or so for people to finally figure out that this team's really, really good. And they're playing as well as anybody in baseball. And I think that, all of the silly stuff gets cast aside and it's really all about the game at this point. And I think you saw that the last 2 or 3 days at Citi Field, that not only were the crowds large, but they were hanging on every pitch. And I think you get to this point in the season, and all that other stuff goes out the window. And I think that the fans have really come to the fore, and they've realized that this team is really good. And I think that if the Mets do get to play some home postseason games this year, I think it'll be a great atmosphere.